Hello everyone and welcome back to Odoo Roadshow Thailand. My name is Frank, the Channel Account Manager at Odoo Hong Kong, managing the Asia Pacific region. Today we are honored to invite our Silver Partner, SafeComs, to our interview today to talk about Odoo manufacturing and IoT-centered implementation. Before we start the interview, I would like to invite all of you who are now watching in the stream on the YouTube to Odoo so that you can have the best experience of our new Odoo event app. And the features by clicking the link in the description box down below. We can interact in the chat box on the left, and then you can check out the other talks that you are interested in. During the presentation, please feel free to leave us your questions in the chat box next to the stream, and we will discuss it in the next after the presentation. So now let's pass the time to our partners. Peter, who is the ERP development and project manager, and also Jurgen, the manager of IoT division manager. So Peter and Jurgen, please. Time for you.
Hi Frank, thanks for having us. So I am Peter, and Jurgen is my colleague sitting next to me, and we are both working for SafeComs. And SafeComs has been around for I think a little under 20 years. It's also the whole adventure of SafeComs started in Australia, but moved around I think about 15 years ago. SafeComs moved to Bangkok in Thailand, and originally the focus of SafeComs was on IT security. But because of the requirements in-house, we soon discovered that we also wanted to do some development to be able to manage our business. And SafeCom started developing CRM software and bespoke software for some of our new customers. And about 5 years ago, we realized that we were reinventing the wheel all the time, and that we needed to have a more complete solution for both for ourselves here at SafeComs, but also for many of our customers who started to have different kinds of needs. They wanted to have a more complete solution, and we started looking around for a good solution, and we ended up with Odoo. It has been a very positive and very rewarding experience, I must say. And in the 5 years that we have been working with Odoo, we have become a Silver Partner, which somehow proves that we have found the right solution for many of our customers here in Thailand. So now we have customers in many sectors, big and small companies, medium-sized. I wouldn't say large companies, but some of them are actually quite big. And so we have tried always to do Odoo implementations mainly on enterprise, and always also mainly focused on manufacturing and distribution, because that's the kind of expertise we have in-house, and we thought we would be of best value to our customers if we would specialize in that area. So the presentation we wanted to do today is one of those customers who is working in manufacturing.
Okay, so yeah, I think you can also switch to the next slide showing your some background like that. So
correct,
it's like
yes, correct.
What Peter explained briefly how SafeComs come to the status now, and then I know you prepared the case of one of your customer called IDP Laos. So can you briefly tell us some background on this IDP Laos project?
Okay, so IDP Laos, or Indochina Development Partners Laos, they like to call themselves IDP, makes it a bit easier to pronounce, have been in Laos for quite a while now, and they have four rice mills in the southern part of Laos. They also have a seed farm, so they also actively are looking for new products to bring onto the market. And when you're talking about rice, that means that you basically need to start from the very beginning, namely finding some seeds or grow some seeds so that you can distribute those seeds to farmers who can then grow your rice. So the headquarters is based in Paksay. IDP is specialized in glutinous rice, but they are exploring other indigenous rice varieties as well. So I don't know if you know that, but Laos is the country second after India who has the most rice varieties available on their soil.
Oh.
So it's actually really a country with a very long and old rice tradition. And most of the rice varieties that are available in Laos are actually not really commercialized. So IDPL sees it a little bit as their role in the south of Laos to discover these new varieties of rediscover, I should say, because they have been around for a really long time. But rediscover those rice varieties and see whether they can use them in the commercial market in the world, basically, because they have customers all over the world.
Okay, I see. So actually, in Hong Kong, we eat mostly Thailand rice or sometimes from China. But it's really new to me that Laos, there's a big variety of the rice. So it's interesting.
Yeah. It's actually Thailand used to have a lot more variety in rice also, but because of their enormous success in the Thai fragrant rice, at least I was told like that. I'm not sure that this is really the truth, 100%. But because of their commercial success, most of some of the other varieties have disappeared, and this in Laos. Rice has not been very commercialized. That's why there are still so many varieties available.
I see. Okay, then maybe move to the next question. So why did IDP Laos come to SafeComs seeking for a solution? And then what were their pain points at the time?
Yeah, so we were contacted about 3 years ago, quite a long time, by the management team in Laos. And at that time, we were still quite new with Odoo. I must say we didn't have very many big projects at that time. Most of the projects we had until then were rather small. And so the company is actually a foreign-run company. The financing of the company is based in Cyprus, but most of the management team is French. So they had a problem because there is not much ERP and IT expertise in Laos, and especially not in the south of Laos, which is actually still quite rural. So for them, they were looking for a partner that they could rely on, and location was not so much of an issue. Obviously, it couldn't be too far because there was some sort of need to visit the factory from time to time for requirements gathering and also for implementation and for training. So it couldn't be too far, but in the end, it didn't really matter whether the company who was going to do their implementation was based in Laos or not. So since SafeComs, had a lot of experience in manufacturing. That is, a few people who work at SafeComs have been working or have been active in most of their professional life in manufacturing, and so we had quite a bit of experience. So they saw in us a partner that could bring their project to a good end. So some of their main pain points were, they didn't really have any software to support them. They had bits and pieces. They were running most of their operations on Excel spreadsheets. They obviously had an accounting package, but that was a very manual enterprise, so to speak. There was no integration whatsoever. So that was one of the main reasons why they were looking for a total solution. And they were also looking for integration with some of their machines, weigh scales, time and attendance, that kind of stuff. So because there again they didn't really have anything, they were all standalone applications. So integrating those would really make sense to them. And then one of the main pain points, or the main pain point, I would say, was costing, because traditional manufacturing is not really suited for rice manufacturing. I will explain a little bit more about that later. What kind of solution we gave to that. So reverse manufacturing, which can be applied to this environment. This is something that is not very common in ERP solutions or in software solutions. So that is those are the main reasons and pain points why IDP was looking for an ERP solution and was looking for a partner like SafeComs.
I see. So that's quite, I would say, quite a difficult situation for them, that they don't have the IT intelligence to help them, and basically they have no control system to help. And of course, the machinery, if there's no control or automation to getting the data in, plus the costing is, of course, it's painful, and it's very important for a business owner, I believe, for every business. So, and then everything adds up together is, I would see this very difficult, or at least not easy, right?
Correct. And it must be said that IDP is a very modern, I mean, you see the picture here. I mean, this is an actual picture from their factory. They are a very modern rice mill, and they do have a lot of top state-of-the-art machinery into their factories, or into their rice mills, I should say. But none of them are really connected, or were not connected for sure, and they had their own little piece of software that was managing the machinery. So having a solution like Odoo, where the potential for integration is available, was definitely for them definitely one of the reasons to choose for Odoo, rather than for any of the other ERP solutions that are on the market.
Yeah. I see here. Yeah, of course, Odoo is a great solution, but I also see that a good implementer or our official partners like SafeComs, which is very experienced, will be very crucial to such kind of projects. Okay, so then maybe we can ask something like how Odoo could really suit their needs, and then to improve their operation efficiency. And can you share us some examples so that we can understand more?
Sure. So obviously, Odoo is a one-stop solution, so that was for them very important. It was important for them to understand that they could always rely on Odoo for whatever problem they were having in their environment. That there would always be an app available in the Odoo store that could somehow cater to their needs. And then another issue that was very important for them is that they had the information that they they wanted to have the information immediately available. That was something that was definitely missing beforehand, and that was something that we brought to them. I mean, the moment they register manufacturing, they register manufacturing, purchasing, sales, whatever. It would immediately show up in the system. It would immediately be linked to the accounting module of Odoo. So that was very important for them, and that was something that that really helped them a lot moving forward and making the right decisions. And also the accuracy of the data. That is something that has really improved their life quite a bit, because previously when they had a sales, just to give you one example, when they had the sales, they were never sure whether they had actually the inventory available to be able to deliver the sales. So there was always this lag between can I make the sale or not, and then once I made the sale, where is actually the rice stored? Having 4 rice mills make that, of course, a little bit more difficult. And also Odoo gave them a more professional way to approach the customers. I mean, the sales orders had a nice format. Invoicing looked similar to the sales order. So I mean, it looked they projected a more professional approach to their customers, which they also appreciated very much. And then, of course, there was the integration with the weigh scales, which was for them quite important, because maybe I should give some explanation about that. Rice business is very much cash-based, a cash-based operation, which means that accuracy in the weighing of the goods when they arrived at the rice mill is kind of important, and to be able to give that information, use that information to pay the farmers immediately on the spot, is really something that they appreciated.
So you have some screenshots or
slides.
show.
Correct. So I wanted to the IoT box was basically our solution for the integration with the weigh scale. So basically, the IoT box registers the trucks when they come in, and register the weight of the trucks when they go out. We make the difference between those two weights, and then we pull that information into the Odoo application, and that allows us to book against the purchase. Something that needs to be mentioned also is that the way IDPL works is that they have weekly budgets for each of their rice mills, and so they basically make a weekly purchase order, which is their budget, and then and that purchase order is made against each of the rice mills, and then we basically split off from those budget purchase orders. We split off each time when the IoT box registers a weight movement. It then each time will split off a purchase order towards the farmer who has been delivering the rice to the rice mill. So this here you have a screenshot where you can see that we can import the scale data through the IoT box, and then that will allow you to upload the file into Odoo, and then you will be presented with all the trucks that have arrived, with the quantity, the weight of the kgs that have been received, with a unit price, and that unit price is basically the price that they have that they allow for the purchase, give or take 5% or 10%, depending on the kind of rice. And that is the 5 or 10% increase or decrease is basically based on the humidity of the rice. So if the rice is more humid than it should be, then of course they're just selling water, so then the price becomes a bit lower. If the rice is a bit drier than they expect, which is good for them because they don't have to dry the rice, then they can offer a little bit higher price to the farmers. And then you are able to basically select the purchases you want to process for that farmer, and you then automatically the system will create a split of purchase order, will create a bill, and then you can register the payment. So it becomes very easy for the rice mill to process the whole operation. There is normally people are being paid cash, but sometimes people are being paid by check as well. So we could not automate the payment method. So we said, okay, this part will stay manual. The person just needs to say how they pay, cash or by check, and then they just need to enter that. You will also see that we are using analytical tags in the system. So analytical tags are being used for to differentiate between the different business units, because each of the rice mills, there's 4 rice mills, and there is a seed farm. So each of those are their own cost center. So we want to be able to track all the purchases and all the sales that happen for each of those rice mills. And also, if rice would be processed in another rice mill than it's being purchased, that would then also be registered, so that we can nicely have a good cost overview for each of the rice mills and see what their profitability is.
Oh, okay. So, whoa, this is great. The example is very comprehensive, and we understand this pretty much streamline the operation, and we can see how much jump in the efficiency. And if I were one of the salesperson there, I would save much more time focusing on my sales and not to worry about if the inventory is available or how when it will be delivered. So there's actually
exactly. So there is two main benefits, I think, on this whole process. One is we allocate budgets to each of the rice mills, so we know how much cash we have to make available, and then we can continuously see as the day progresses how much. So the budget is on a weekly scale. I don't know if I mentioned it before. It's on a weekly scale, and then they can nicely see what the progress is in the purchase. They can nicely see every day. Okay, the budget was 1,000 ton. Today we have done 200 ton. Next day 250 ton, etc., etc. and so they can monitor that, and then they can also find the farmers, because some farmers are just they're not really pressed to bring their rice all the time because it still needs to dry a little bit or whatever. But if they see that they already have too much rice, they can contact the farmers and say, okay, no need to bring rice today, bring it tomorrow, bring it next week. If they don't have enough rice, they can contact farmers and they can say, hey, do you have rice available? Can you speed up your process a little bit? And so they can manage their whole the whole inflow of the rice purchases much better through this automation.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, looking at how closely you are working with the whole end-to-end operations, we know that it's not just your knowledge or technology that can help the customer, but also your skills to understand the customer's requirement and then turn it into a system and eventually successfully implement this. So yeah, we can see how SafeCom is professional in the manufacturing and IoT implementation. And
thank you for the compliment.
Honestly, I'm very proud of you and being your account manager. and honestly, in this case, I think rice is quite specific, but we can still see some of the functionality would be, of course, useful to similar manufacturing companies. But can you share us more like other things that could help with the project, but still will be useful to other customer as well, so that everyone could would going to jump into your service.
So that there is two more aspects to the implementation that I'm quite proud of. Is one is the costing aspect and the other one is petty cash. So what the costing is concerned, we basically their manufacturing environment is not like a traditional manufacturing environment, because they are basically doing there's one product that comes into the rice mill, and there's multiple products that go out of the rice mill. So how will you cost those finished goods to be able to see whether you are profitable when you do make your sales and what your sales price should be? So that is one solution that we have brought, and I will tell you a little bit more about that. And the second is a petty cash module that we have developed for them. As I mentioned before, rice purchasing is really cash-based. Almost all transactions are, and Laos is by definition also very cash-based. So it was very important that we needed to monitor the cash expenses that they have, how much cash is being issued to whom. So that was very important for us to be able to deliver to our customer. So what the costing is concerned, so the traditional manufacturing, you basically have several raw materials or semi-finished goods or goods that you purchase, and you bring them together, and you then have a finished good. Your finished good cost is being made out of the raw material cost or the parts you have purchased or semi-finished parts that you have even manufactured, and then you have all kinds of added costs to the finished goods, such as labor cost, machine cost, electricity. I don't know, all the kind of costs that are usually can be attributed to that finished good. So that's a normal way of calculating a price of a finished good, cost of a finished good. Apologies. Now in a rice mill, it's completely different. In a rice mill, you have wet paddy that arrives into the factory. There is the drying process, and then there is a milling process. The drying process, you basically lose weight. And why do they do the drying process? It's very simple, because they want to keep the rice dry so they can store it for a while, and then they can mill during the remainder of the year. The rice harvest period is 1 or 2 months, and they need to manufacture during 1 year. So they dry very quickly, then they store it, and then the rice is being milled. Okay, so what is the milling process? Milling process is basically taking off whatever we don't need of the rice or the outside of the rice, and then you're basically going to assort the rice into different qualities and different qualities, I should say. You have different qualities in the color, different qualities in whether the rice is broken or it's whole, and then you have a whole bunch of byproducts that you also generate. Assuming that you have 1,000 kilos that comes in as wet paddy, you may have 800 kilos that is left that goes into the milling, and then you then you will lose again maybe 5 or 10% of the product in byproducts, and then you may have maybe left with 500 kg of high quality rice, and then maybe 250 kg of broken rice. How will you cost this? How can you attribute that cost towards that finished good? You cannot just take the weight. That's not enough. That's not the only factor that you can use to attribute the cost. There is also the value of the goods, and how can you estimate what the value is? So the way we have done this is by saying, okay, the high quality rice is worth 10 times more than the broken rice. Okay, if that's the case, then we will attribute 10 times more of the cost to the high quality rice as we do to the byproducts, to the broken rice, for instance. So we base ourselves for that on a cost calculation price list. So we're basically using a price list in Odoo, and we put and we say each of the products that we have in there, they have a certain price. And then based on this price, we then price and weight, we then attribute the cost to there. And then we can, when we have our manufacturing order, we can then nicely attribute each of those volumes that we have generated. We can then say, okay, the unit cost is so much, so the accounting value is so much, so we can distribute the cost like that. Now, something we have also done with the cost calculation price list is these prices change all the time, depending on the time of the season, depending on how good the harvest was, depending on climate change.
Yeah, I think
change
quite fluctuate for the farmers.
So every month we make we see, okay, this rice, at what price has this been sold? And then we adjust the sales price based on the volume that has been sold and based on the volume that still remains in stock. We then recalculate that price list, and then the next month we are using that price then again to calculate or redistribute our manufacturing costs into the system. Okay, and then the second part is then the petty cash. So basically we have automated every person in the factory or in the rice mill is basically a small cash register, so to speak, and they can request their manager for a cash advance. Of course, they need to say why they need a cash advance, but and then once they have done that, once they have submitted the cash advance request, that is being approved by the manager, and then the rice mill manager can basically then issue that money to the employee. Then the employee can then go and buy whatever they need to buy, and then when they come back, they can use the expense module, and they can then put the expenses in there, and that expense can then be paid against the cash advance or the little cash register for the employee. And then the management can always keep an eye on how much money everybody has and how many expenses they have made, and you basically make the circle around what that financial aspect is of the petty cash. So this is what we have done for the cash management in the rice mills in Laos. One more thing I forgot to say is with the IoT box is that we are really looking forward. We have been looking forward, and we have been looking into very much the expanded functionality of the IoT box in V14. So what we have done now is basically we have integrated the weight scale, we have integrated the time and attendance machines, but IDPL doesn't want to stop there. They want to further invest in integration, in IoT integration. So the rice drying machine I talked to you about where basically you have a weight in and a weight out that is being monitored, and you have, of course, the temperature that is being monitored all the time, and there's the dryness that is being monitored all the time. So all these parameters we would like to connect to we would like to connect this machine to the IoT box, and then capture all that information, so that this information is available together with the lot number, so that if there is a problem later on in the manufacturing process or even afterwards in the sales, that we can see under what conditions this rice was dried. The same thing we would like to do with the rice sorting machine. That is the machine you saw the picture of a bit earlier. There basically they sort the rice in many facets. They sort the rice on whether it's whole rice or whether it's broken rice. They sort on color, all those kind of things. So each time when you put the weight into the machine and then you have an output, these machines actually can weigh. But now this weight is basically just being stored in the machine, but is not being transferred to Odoo. So there again, we are looking into the integration between the IoT box and those machines and Odoo, the other side obviously, to be able to capture that so that we don't have to enter all this information in a manual way as we are doing right now. We want to automate that also.
Right. So thank you for your sharing. Actually, after your case study, I immediately can think of many of the manufacturers. They always have the waste on their parts or ingredients, and also after they have the product outcome, they always have better quality products and lower quality products. And your solution can totally help them on in terms of the costing and also update instantly. So I think this could be widely applied to any kind of manufacturing industries, right?
Correct. Any industry where you have variable cost of multiple output products, our system can work.
I would say every manufacturing is like that, really, right? Yeah. So great. Because I think today's interview's time is nearby, and once again, thanks for the SafeComs, Peter and Jurgen, for sharing your case study. And then for the audience, please be reminded that you can leave your questions in the chat box, and then we will answer your question in the Q&A session. So see you again in a bit. Hey, hello, thanks for sitting with us. So now let's start the Q&A session. Let's see what we have in the chat box. Okay, so we have the first question from Crit Chan. Okay, so they're asking about the industries company using the PLC as the machine controller, and then is it possible for Odoo IoT box to communicate with? So Peter and Jurgen, please maybe explain a little bit to the other audience that what is PLC, and also is it possible, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's very, very much possible, and there is a whole bunch of protocols that are already on the market, and that is one of the new areas where SafeComs is trying to get into is to integrate IoT with Odoo. So basically, a PLC is like a simple computer that can capture whatever information that the machine is processing. So basically, one needs to make an API between the PLC and Odoo, and the IoT boxes is a way of building that. So that is definitely possible. We have had some experience with it, but I mean, this is all very young, especially in Thailand. This is not something that is being used in the small and medium companies that are our main customers. They are usually not yet interested in that, but that is definitely coming, and we get more and more demand where that is concerned to actually connect machines to Odoo through the IoT box. And that is also one of the things that IDPL has asked us to investigate is how can we efficiently integrate the machines that they have into Odoo, so that the manual transactions that they are still doing now, meaning the weighing of the rice when it comes out of the machines, to automate that, and actually then also to be able to print out labels at the same time, so that the rice is recognizable. All that kind of stuff can then be automated. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, great. Understand. So, thank you. And we have two more questions. I think they are a little bit similar maybe we can put it together. So they are concerned about the implementation. So one thing is how can I determine which part to go first on the implementation for the operation? Because I also experienced customer have asking like they want to include everything for their system, but they have a big bulk in the manufacturing, but also finance, or sometimes easier thing was sales. So they want to put all the things together. But I always advise them to like put it step by step. So you have your advice, and usually how long, or in this case, how long was this implementation?
So yes, we try to adhere to a few principles that actually Odoo is recommending. Is that we start all our implementations with the proof of concept phase. What do we want to do during the proof of concept is basically we want to investigate what our customer is doing. How are they currently working? What kind of tools do they have? What are the problem points? What is working? What is not working? And then based on what our findings in the proof of concept, we obviously make a gap analysis, and we also then try to make a demo of standard Odoo without too many modifications. Of course, left and right, there's always a small modification or a small tweak that we try to do to make things more visual to the customer. But basically during the POC, we say, okay, what does the customer want? What is standard Odoo, and what would be the potential modifications that we need to do to really have a complete fit? What we then do is basically then, and that's I will probably answer part of your question. We then try to phase out the project. Obviously, we try to stay with standard Odoo as much as possible for several reasons. First of all, because we do think that Odoo is a good product and it has a lot of input from many industries, so it should be best practice. So there often shouldn't be a reason to make a lot of modifications. So we try to adhere to that. But we also, since we are especially when we are talking about manufacturing or logistic companies, then it really is necessary to start with implementing the core. What do I mean with the core? Is to make sure that people can do sales, that people have inventory, that they have a purchasing possibility, and that all the elements end up in the accounting. I usually call it phase one is usually manufacturing light or warehousing light or whatever you want to call it, but the light version of where you actually want to come to. Since Odoo is an ERP solution, and if our customer really wants to have ERP, meaning to have something that really complements their whole factory or their whole business, then I do believe we need to have the core in place. Once you have the core in place, then we can go to phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and then we can say, okay, what are all the nice to haves, or what will make their life more easy, and how can we bring that into their system? So that's where we have this phased approach, where the first phase is always attending to the core, and then the next phase is then really dig deeper into each of the different departments. In the case of IDPL, I think we have been working now together with them, I think a little bit over a year. And our proof of concept took quite long. It was 2-3 months, but that was, also because of part of it was also the distance, between Bangkok and Laos. So it was not always so easy to communicate between the two parties. And then the first phase, the core, was implemented about 3-4 months later. So a little bit over half a year, we had the light version in place, so people could start working with the system, so that the accounting was more or less in place. There was still parts of the accounting that was not being done manually. For instance, the petty cash implementation, that is something that came later. And I think it took maybe a little under a year to have the complete implementation as it is now. That being said, we are still doing tweaks left and right for them. Little side projects like HR and all the other facets to their operation. We little by little we bring that into the system to make things a little bit easier for them to operate.
Yeah, thank you. And then actually, I want to share a bit of my experience on the phase implementation as well, because I used to face customer that they they insist they want to have the full implementation at once, and of course they have their specific requirements, and we took all the requirements and then help them implement it. But at the end, it's not quite successful, I would say, because first, it's heavy for all the users change all the system at once, and they have lots of other issues. And then second thing is they sometimes waste a lot of efforts on the unnecessary customization, because the users, they cannot imagine what the new tools will look like, and then they will imagine I want like this, I want like this, but in fact there are many other ways to help them improve their efficiency they can never imagine. So after they experience that, they will really down to earth to understand, hey, how about Odoo is like, and then they will raise out some requirements that's more sensible, more workable, and also cost and efficiency economically, right?
Yeah. I agree with you, and we should never forget that customers want to have an ERP system for often because they're facing problems. They cannot grow as fast as they want, or they're having problems in their operations, and then they base their requirements on the problems they are having. But once you put a system like Odoo in place, many of those problems will not be there anymore. So the checks and the balances they want to build in because of the problems they have been facing before, they will not face once they have an ERP system in place. So that is where where caution and a phased approach is very important. Obviously, when you start implementing, you need to be aware of those problems. That goes without saying. But that doesn't always mean that you just have to give in to the customer and say, okay, we understand that this is your problem, and we are going to do this 100% the way you want it. We want to have a little pause there, have them experience what Odoo is like, and then based on that, then we will start making the changes and find whatever new requirements they have, see whether the problems they experienced before are still there, yes or no. And usually we find that those problems are not there anymore because we have a system that is integrated. A lot of mistakes or a lot of problems arise because the systems they're using before are not integrated. The purchasing does their purchasing on Excel spreadsheet and then passes on that information to the warehouse. Then the warehouse has a different system, and then the warehouse, when the goods arrive, then goes back to the purchasing. Purchasing gives their papers to the accounting department, who then enters all that stuff into their accounting system. Well, with Odoo, that's a non-issue. Obviously, the integration is there. The purchasing enters the information, what they want to buy. It goes automatically to the warehouse people, who just receive the goods. Then based on that, either the accounting or the warehousing or whoever does that transaction can start generating the vendor bills, and the vendor bills then will be checked by the accounting department, and then it will be paid. So it becomes a much more straightforward solution, and many of the problems they were facing before simply don't exist anymore.
So I see that from your sharing and experience, SafeComs or Peter, you is not just the implementer of the system. You are also a consultant of like how to do the change management, and also how to work with a new system. So I think it's very important. It is like a accumulated experience of not just system itself, but also business sense, all the things. So we have a final question.
If I may say, a partner like SafeComs, who does implementations in many industries, we are in a position where we can compare and we can make suggestions to our customers. Say, hey, we have seen people facing similar kind of problems, and they have solved it in this way. They have solved that problem in this way. So I think that's definitely part of our job is consulting and try to bring solutions to our customers. Customers live in their own little world. They don't often have the experience, and that's normal. That's nothing special. That is how the world is. And systems like Odoo bring that experience. And then hopefully partners like SafeComs also bring a bit of experience into the whole picture, and that makes it all interesting. And like I said, each time when we do an implementation, we also learn. We learn about rice. We learn about how do you bottle, how do you transport lenses from Bangkok to the United States, and how is the distribution system in the United States for lenses, etc., etc. So we learn each time, and so we can apply that knowledge to our other customers as well.
Yeah, very true. So yeah, I think this the last question from the chat box. So the audience asks, can Odoo do withholding tax? It's about accounting, so it's not really with our today's topic, but yeah,
no problem.
No problem.
Well, SafeComs has implemented a Thai accounting system, and withholding is definitely part of it. Unfortunately for me, I would say, or for SafeComs, we have to deal with that. So yes, we can manage withholding tax. Yeah. We can, being based in Thailand, we can manage all the Thai typical accounting practices that need to be applied. We have a module that deals with that.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds great. So I have experience working with you about I think most of your projects that involve accounting. Yeah, and I think everything goes smooth quite well, and of course it compiles the local Thai law, and yeah, you have what you need. Yeah.
Yeah, that is correct. Yes, so most of our customers have indeed accounting as part of the deal, yes, so to speak. Some of our customers chose to work in for their final accounting with another package because they feel not so comfortable with changing directly to Odoo accounting. But I must say that then again, most of the customers who choose to go that way, after 1 or 2 years, they do change their mind and they see how easy it is to do the complete accounting into Odoo. Of course, the perspective of accounting changes quite a bit. Accounting is more checking than it is actually entering data into the system. Yeah, that is one of the big advantages of working with an ERP, any ERP system, I would say. The role of accounting changes from a inputting of data to an auditor, more or less, so to speak. You know, they need to start checking rather than keying in data.
Yeah, it's true. So I think we have finished all the questions on chat box today. So of course, if you have further questions, you can see on the slide that is our contact. Again, I am the channel manager of Hong Kong, Odoo Hong Kong in Asia Pacific. So, and also SafeComs being our local silver partner. So you can feel free to contact us if you have further questions on no matter your system or anything about IoT. So, and of course, please still support us in other roadshow. We are still going on with a series of webinars and sharing with partners. Thank you again for your attending the event today. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.